Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Paramystic Christina. I am your host, and today I'd like to introduce my co-host, who's going to be with me about once a month. I think that's what we decided to do. This is Glenn Boddice, and he is a medium and a paranormal investigator and a very, very intuitive person, an author, a musician. Okay, so what don't you do? You
I
do
don't
so
do
much.
washing up, and I don't do cooking very well, so I hear.
You can't take your kids' critique seriously.
I don't. I ignore them.
Kids will never like what you make for them until they're adults, and then they'll tell everybody how great your cooking is. So,
Having said that, I've made a nice stew today with it being autumn, and that's
oh,
what we're all having for tea later. So
nice.
I'll let you know on that one.
Yeah, let me know how they respond to that one. Yeah, we have so much to talk about. Like I am a co-host on your show, From Beyond, and
Yeah,
we do that about once a month. So now we get to work with each other twice as much.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Isn't that
You know,
awesome?
I absolutely love it. Because we're both on the same page, and we seem to riff around with what we're talking about. So hopefully that translates in your episode with being
I
on
hope
here.
so too, right? Because it's kind of a shifted role, but we are co-hosts, so let's have fun with this. Tell us a little bit about your background as I'm, just introducing you to my
O
show.
Okay, so as a spiritual medium, as I'm sure it's been the same with you, it's been a lifelong journey, a story. It started when I was a very young child, but I wasn't aware of mediumship. I didn't know what it meant. I just felt I was different. I
Hmm.
was the sort of guy that if they were playing football at school, I'd be the guy left on the line waiting to be chosen because I was so unusual. And then it was at when I was 18, I reached my, shall we call it, spiritual awakening fully. And as you know, when you experience that, it is your mind's just blown. You don't know what's happening. I was seeing vortexes in my bedroom with thousands of faces staring down at me. I was paralyzed. I could only just move my eyes to look at this tunnel. And it just got crazier and crazier. And then what I did find is an inclination to pick up pen and paper. I was just intrigued, inspired by doing that. And by doing that, that led, I didn't know what it was called at the time, automatic writing. So
Hmm.
all of this information and knowledge that I had no intention of writing was coming through me. In fact, my hand was moving on its own accord. I didn't have any control of my hand. That then progressed into clear audience, so I could hear the information before it reached the paper, and I could hear it in a monologue than my own.
Hmm.
The automatic writing died down slightly, but then that developed into psychic art. And this is where I channel like images from spirit, faces mainly, portraits of some of the communicators that were coming through at the time. And then from that moment onwards, it was a case of I was getting bombarded 24/7. It was just becoming too much because being 18, I wanted to be as normal as possible, 18-year-old.
Is there such
And
a thing?
not
No.
really. I mean, at the time, believe it or not, I
Yeah.
had long hair right down to my elbows, long blonde hair, if you can, all your viewers and listeners can imagine that. Um, so yeah. So anyway, luckily enough, I plucked up the courage. I told my parents. They knew somebody that was in connection with a spiritualist church.
Hmm.
I went for a meeting with them, and they clarified that yes, you have got spiritual gifts and abilities, and you're wide open. We need to close you down. We need to tell you about the chakra system, and we need to introduce you to your spirit guide. So from that moment onwards, I had more of an understanding. I chose to dim it down so I
Hmm.
could carry on living the life of an 18-year-old. And then it wasn't until my early 20s that you know, yourself, when spirit want to work with you, they don't leave you alone. And so it was happening for years.
Yeah.
Accidents were happening, things were being put in my pathway to stop me from going down a certain avenue in life. And then eventually I put my hands up and I said, okay, I can hear you. I understand what would you like me to do? And so I was inspired to attend a weekly spiritual development class at a spiritualist church. In fact, I was invited there, and it was through that teaching there that I developed that discipline, that knowledge, the wisdom, the connection with my guides on a stronger level. And over the years, it's just been a case of me developing that, working with clients, channeling, working in paranormal investigations like your good self there, and just, sharing the light, sharing the gift as far and wide as spirit wish me to do so. So, in a nutshell, that's where I've been.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite a condensed version because I know
Yes.
we're friends and we've talked a lot, so I know that there's a lot more to it. But there's a lot more to everybody's story than you get in one sitting. So
Mm,
that just makes absolute sense. But yeah, that waving the white flag, that surrender to fine, I give up, I give up. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
something else,
yeah.
isn't it, when it happens?
I've done that several times, like I would just like,
Okay.
okay, fine, here's another white flag. I give up. Surrender. All right, guide me. So I think that that's a pretty common thing. It's like another level of spiritual growth. Yeah, when we do that.
It's a case of, like you say, surrendering what we consider to be our life's calling,
Right.
when in actual fact, it could potentially be our ego mind ruling the show.
And I'm pretty sure in my case that was always the case. So,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. It's fun talking about this because I mean, it's like we have experiences that other people would probably consider to be weird, extraordinary, unusual, and for us, it's like, yeah, all in the day's work.
it is. It's very normal, isn't it? And,
It is.
well, I'll share this with your listeners, if I may, to be in the smallest room in the house, the bathroom, the toilet,
Right.
being on the toilet. And then as you're there, you're seeing a pair of legs manifest right before you while you're sat on the toilet.
Or
And so
you're a captive audience.
so I've had that. Yeah. And I've said, I'm pulling my top down,
Yeah.
sitting there on the loo. I'm like, excuse me, do you mind? And who are you?
Yeah.
It was a gentleman, and he had like stripy sort of gangster trousers on up to the knee. I could only see up to the knee, and really highly polished brogue black shoes. And as soon as I said, I will help you, but come on, give me a break. I'm on the loo. If you can wait outside, I'll come and help you and I'll have a
Yeah.
conversation with you. So, yeah, that was one of those normal moments that I
Yes, right.
experienced. What was one of yours? Have you got any normal moments?
Ironically in the same room, but I was in the
Okay.
shower.
Wow.
Yeah. And this lady just like came in and sat down on the toilet and just started talking to me. And I'm like, excuse me, but who are you? Like, yeah. And I said, all right, you know what? I need some privacy. You really just need to go wait, have a seat in the living room, watch TV. I don't care what you do, but let me finish what I'm doing here. So yeah, it is interesting. They do tend to catch you when you're a captive audience.
And your trousers are down, quite literally.
Quite literally.
I've got
Yeah.
to say, though, spirit or no spirit, I hope she flushed the chain after she'd done on that toilet.
I think she was just sitting on the lid, but
That's what she's telling you.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't look. I was kind of afraid to look at that point. Like I was like, I don't actually want to see an apparition right now. So,
Of a
and
stool.
right.
Oh, dear me.
And do you see full-on apparitions?
I do, but I can't guarantee to see them, if you know what I mean, because it
Yeah.
happens so quick. Sometimes I see the build up. It usually starts with the feet moving upwards. One of the, I would say, treasured memories I have, my dad has been in spirit now for 10 years. Not too long after his passing, I was walking into my living room, Nobody'd been in the house, just me. And as I opened the living room door, I saw flashes of my dad. I could see like his cardigan, in full sight, in his actual height that he was. I
Mhm.
could see part of his face. It was like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and it was as if it was trying to build up, manifesting. But I,
Okay.
I saw it clear as day, and then it just went into vapor and disappeared. But that's one of my treasured memories there. I've also seen him actually, my dad, at my sister's, and I used to see him quite regularly. And he was a have a go hero in terms of DIY. So my dad was always happy when he had his flat hat on and his overalls. And the reason why I say that, we was all inside my sister's house, and then I just saw my dad poke his head round the window outside looking in, and he had his flat hat on and his overalls on, and I saw him as clear as I'm seeing you now.
Wow.
So, yeah, to answer your question, I do see it, but I can't sort of demand to see it. I can ask, I can put the intention out there, but as you know yourself, there's more to it than just seeing. It's the energies, it's the ingredients, the atmosphere, the people's belief systems.
Mhm.
They have to go through all of that mechanism before they can be fully seen.
Right.
That's my
Exactly.
experience.
Exactly. And it has been my experience. I have only probably seen two fully completed apparition human beings.
Wow.
I do tend to see animals
Oh, I bet that's beautiful.
as as apparitions.
Mm.
Yeah, there was an experience. I was driving in Milwaukee, which I really try to avoid doing, but I was driving in Milwaukee and I was driving behind this big SUV truck thing, and
Mhm.
I saw somebody throw a dog out the window.
No.
And the dog just kind of rolled and got up and ran away. And I'm like, I'm out looking for the dog, I driving around the block looking for the dog.
Yeah.
And as I came around the other side, the dog didn't run away. This had actually happened previously. I was seeing a rerun kind of in real time, and the dog was actually lying on the sidewalk, had been there for a few days.
Oh,
So for me, that was like, how did I see that dog get up and run away, but it never moved from this spot?
yeah.
It was very strange.
So the vehicle as well, would you say that that was like a replay?
It looked like I was watching a replay, but it was so
Yeah.
real, and I was like I was in the movie, you know,
Okay.
because
Wow.
it looked like it was right there in front of me and just kept going. And I'm like, how does somebody do that to an animal? I don't
Yeah.
understand. It's not something that I can wrap my brain around. It doesn't make sense to me, you
Mm.
know.
It's yeah.
There are other, find someone to take the dog who's going to love it or something, but yeah. Anyway, so that was like,
That's
and
it.
it's not the only time I've seen animals in full apparition. I mean, I,
Okay.
I I grew up in a forest. I used to see forest animals, and I remember one time I was with one of my brothers, and we were just kind of walking through the woods because we got nothing better to do, basically. And it's when we were kids. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 13 or 14, and I saw this bear charging at us. And I screamed and pushed him out of the way, and he's like yelling at me, like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "There's a bear coming." He's looking, he goes, "I didn't see a bear. I didn't hear a
What?
bear. There's no bear." I'm like,
Whoa.
"Okay, I'm confused." But yeah, and I think that was the first time I ever saw like a full animal apparition because they look solid to me.
Yeah. A bear though. That. Oof,
Well, I mean, there were
crikey.
bears in the area. I mean, we knew they were there, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just weird. It was weird.
I've had something similar. Well, I get this because my house is full of spiritual traffic, as I'm sure yours is. But I have had people's pets, their dogs, their cats, and they're almost like passing through, and I can see them like you do yourself
Hmm.
solidly, and I feel them as well as I'm seeing them.
Yes.
And then probably like yourself, they just go. They
Yeah.
sort of disappear into vapor, like
Hmm.
chalk dust almost, and
Yeah.
then the room is clear again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering though, are we time jumping when that happens?
Oh, You're diving deep today, Kristina. Yeah,
Well, I mean, it just occurred to
potentially.
me, right? Like if I'm walking through the woods and a bear's charging at me out of nowhere, like there was no previous noises, there was
Mm.
nothing else that I heard, there's nothing behind me it would be chasing, and all of a sudden I'm in the path of a bear charging at me. Did I just slip into a different timeline where a bear happened to be running through the woods and I happened to land in front of it?
That is an interesting theory. Yeah, it's worth
Yeah.
exploring that because, as they say, there's no such thing as time. It's all happening
Mhm.
in the now. But having said that, we all have billions of fractals of our soul
Right.
that chooses different dimensions, different choices, and they're all running at the same time. It's only choice that connects us from one to the other.
Right.
So maybe on some level, you decided you want to see a bear that day in the woods,
I
and
guess
it
some
was an
part of
excuse
me
to have a go at your brother and push him, knock him down off his feet.
never needed an excuse for that. Just saying. I'm just saying, never needed an excuse. No. The fact that he was my brother was excuse enough.
Okay, he earned that from birth.
Oh my gosh. I'm just looking at our, we made some notes here and, um, like attracting things. So like, we were just talking about, maybe I attracted that experience, and there are
Yeah.
other experiences too that I still think about because they were so profound and it has to do with time slipping. But, yeah, it's really interesting. But are we attracting like experience from other dimensions as well as we do in this world, as well as we do in our own dimension?
Oh, interesting. I would say yes. When we go into sleep state, when we're allowed to sleep, that is,
Right?
I've been struggling with my sleep now for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
but that's another story in itself. But I would say when we let that guard down and we let our soul have its playtime,
Hmm.
in the universe, I would say potentially we're still continuing to skip and jump timelines in that realm as well as in this one.
I agree.
I don't feel as
Yeah.
though that we think we go to bed to sleep, but we don't. We just it's our excuse to open the door and move into a new reality and continue to connect with it and have some impact. That is my belief.
Yeah, I would
Definitely.
agree with you, partly just because of the experiences that I have, mostly
Mm.
shortly before I wake up. Um, I will sometimes find myself going between two different realities, where in one reality I have this life, and in another reality I have this life. And when I'm over here, I know all these people. It's normal. It's my life. Same over here, but when I'm here, I know all these people, but I don't know any of those people.
That's interesting. Do you find
Yeah.
though as well when we are traveling astrally, when
Mhm.
we're in sleep state in our physical body, that it's not about sort of communication like we're having. It's about feeling.
Yes.
It's a feeling, a knowing, a feeling and a
Mhm.
knowing. So you don't need to have the communication exchange. It's already there. It's already happened. You're
Right.
already aware of it. So that's quite interesting
S
in relation to what you were just saying there.
right. It's telepathic kind of.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's more than telepathic, and I just don't know the word for it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's like interpreting everything just gets instantly interpreted, but it's not necessarily mental, it's more emotional, like it comes through the heart.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sure what that's called. I know there's gotta be a word for it.
There's empathy, isn't there? Empathic,
Right.
but I think
Yeah,
it like you
empathic.
say, it runs deeper than that
It
because
does.
it's like you're getting a download, but everything's contained within that what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch. But
Mhm.
instead of over analyzing it, like you say, it's the feeling that is the governor that's in charge that
Right.
lets you know.
And it's just a really deep understanding without having to put words to it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it
And I'll be
really
looking
is.
forward to having a good night's sleep so I can have that experience again. But hopefully come back so that the silver
Right.
cord there connects me to the physical
Right.
body.
Right, because you're not done here yet.
Oh no, crikey, no. I was having a conversation with my guide, because we live in this dimension in the physical world, and obviously we have to adhere by certain standards, such as finances, paying bills, and all of this
Hmm.
sort of thing. And anyway, I was having this conversation with my guide and saying, when am I going to retire? And they said, well, you work for spirit, you never do.
Yeah, that was the
It's like,
message I got years ago.
okay, so
Yes.
there's no pension plan or anything then? Nope. Okay, well, make sure I'm fed and watered.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is exactly it. Make sure I'm fed and watered. Make sure that, there's a roof over my head and I'm safe, because
Yes.
that was really part of my contract with Spirit. And I actually sat down and wrote a contract with Spirit, like on paper,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Because the first time I channeled, it came through, completely surprised me. I had no idea, remembered none of it, obviously.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, I was driving and I had my then young child in the car, and somebody jumped into my body who didn't know how to drive my car. And I was like, no, 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 this is not happening. I managed to get off the highway into a parking lot. I'm surprised nobody called the police and said there's a crazy lady out here screaming, because I got out of my car and I just stood there and said, get out, like
Taking
loud,
your power back. Yeah.
taking my power back. Yeah. And after that, I was like, okay, guides, why did you let that happen? And they're like, you didn't tell us we couldn't.
Good answer. I like
Hmm.
your guides.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to write some rules then. And that night I sat down and wrote a contract with the universe. When I'm driving, you are not allowed to jump into my body. If you want to come into my car and talk to me, okay. As long as you're not too distracting, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can't come into my body while I'm cooking. Heat, sharp objects, and being unconscious do
Of
not work well together.
no, they do not mix. That is
You know?
incredible. What was your children like then when that happened?
Oh, he was pretty freaked out. He was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with
Yeah.
my mom?" Because all of a sudden, like, I mean, he could see me in the rearview mirror. He was right behind me in a car seat,
Yeah.
and he was probably 6, maybe 7 years old. And he's just like, "You okay, mom? 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 Are you okay?" And I couldn't even answer him. I was just, yeah,
Oh,
that was
bless.
scary. That was scary. That's probably the most scary experience I've had with spirit, and that includes all the paranormal investigations. Like, I think that was the scariest
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Well, I bet. Crikey. I mean, I
Yeah.
can relate to what you're saying with the channeling. I suppose in a way I've formed an energetic and verbal contract.
Mhm.
As you know, I'm a musician, I'm a drummer. And for many years now, before I do a gig, I can't remember the parts that I meant to play. And I'm like, oh, driving on the way to the gig, I'm thinking, well, how does that song go? And where do I come in? And I'm worrying with anxiety. And so it came from that. And on the way to the gig, I asked my guides, okay, I'd like to invite any amazing percussionists, drummers in the world of spirit that want to take this opportunity to blend their energy with mine and do a really good performance to our set. And if you can do a nice drum solo as well, that would be an absolute bonus. Thank you very much.
We talk about
and
channeling, right?
and so yeah, and with doing that, time after time, I'd sit behind the kit, and as soon as the first chord was struck of the song, that's it. I can't remember anything. I'm looking down at my hands and feet, and I'm seeing them moving independently, but I'm not having any thought in doing that. And at the end of every gig, I say,
Thank
thank
you.
you. You got me through it.
Right.
Thank you so much.
That's
And there's been
awesome.
people that actually in the audience say, they'll come up and chat with you after the show and they'll say, oh, that you remind me of this drummer and that drummer. And a lot of those drummers that we're describing are in spirit. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, thank you, team. Thank you, guys.
That is
So yeah.
awesome. That's really awesome. Do you write that way as well? Do you just kind of get out of the way and let spirit do the writing?
In terms of music as well.
Well, in terms of your books.
Oh, books, right. With that, well, I channel, yeah, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, with my first book, they was telling me, they were saying, we'd like to birth a book through you.
Mhm.
And I'm reminding them, well, I am dyslexic, so good luck with that one. And anyway, so where there's a will, there's a way. And so
Absolutely.
they encouraged me to sit twice. And no, it was once a week in the beginning, with an audio recorder, and to maybe do like 20, 30 minutes of channeling with the intention of the chapters of the book coming through with
Mhm.
each and every session. And so over the course of, I would say, the best part of a year, I kept my end of the bargain. They kept their end of the bargain. And what happened at the end is we produced those audios into an audio book. And then we transcribed the audio, obviously, into text. And with the help of the guides there, because being dyslexic, they helped me to format the book into what it is now. And so that's how the books come into form. I simply, like channeling, it was channeled. I move
Mhm.
out the way, I allow, and just trust the process. At one time, I would have said, "No, I can't say that. I can't put that in the book. People might think this of me or that of me." And with the help of spirit, they've given me that confidence that it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what anybody thinks. It's just the truth and the vibration and the message that is the star of the show. And they've said it's not us, it's not you, it's the information and the energy within that is the star of the show, and that needs to be birthed into your dimension. So that's how the books came into fruition.
That's awesome.
I was very
Yeah.
nervous because, like, I was never any good at anything like that at school. I was always ridiculed for it.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, my books were both automatic writing.
Wow, similar
Yeah.
way then. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice one.
So they were both completely handwritten before they were ever typed up into a book, because it was
Whoa.
all just, I close my eyes and I write, and that's the way I do it.
I've got
So,
to say, with it being automatic writing, was it in somebody else's handwriting style rather than your own?
you know, it was, and it was more than one different handwriting style.
Whoa.
Wisdom for the Age of Ascension, for example, is each page is like a written thing that you can then meditate on, right? So it's like a paragraph,
Yeah.
and you read it and then you meditate on it. And the same channelers did not come through and give me, the communicators, that's what you call them. I like that.
Yeah.
The same communicators didn't write the whole book. Like, it wasn't just one communicator. So, whoever came through, it was in their handwriting. Sometimes, oddly enough, it was in Old English.
Whoa.
Yeah, sometimes it was partly in Gaelic, sometimes it was partly in German.
In
So
German?
I know, weird, right?
How did you decipher that into English?
Uh, those translation dictionaries.
Wow, that is,
Yeah, because I
yeah.
literally, like, I'm not even present. My body's moving, but my mind is taking a nap somewhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
That's beautiful. I never knew
Yeah,
that you brought it through with automatic writing.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, both of those books are automatic writing. And then, of course, the editing is done with not automatic writing, because, they
Yeah.
come up with some great ideas, but their grammar isn't on point.
Yeah, they're kind of picking at straws through our wisdom and what
Right.
we've collated, aren't they? To get
Mhm.
the next best description in terms of
Right.
words.
Right. Because they do have to use our vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with the one with German, it was only one page, but I think it was when they didn't know the English word for it, or the German word
Okay.
seemed more um, appropriate,
Expressive. Yeah.
expressive. Yeah, which
Wow.
was weird.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's a triumph to your dedication to decipher a page of
Well,
German.
well, it
I'd be
wasn't a whole
lost.
page, it was just random words.
Oh, I'd be lost on one word.
Hence the dictionary.
Yeah, crikey.
Yeah. So, but I mean, and kudos to you too. I mean, writing two books and being dyslexic, that's got to be challenging.
Um, I would say the editing is the hardest because obviously they bring through the content, and like you've just said, sometimes it doesn't flow as it doesn't translate into our day-to-day language,
Right.
shall we say. And not wanting to change their truth and their wisdom, I don't mess around with it too much. I'll probably make it more palatable for the reader in
Mm-hmm.
terms of visually speaking,
Right.
and content. So, like a paragraph would relate to that paragraph, and just break it down a little bit. But I try not to change. Well, I don't change. I don't change any of the information that they bring forward. I trust
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Probably like yourself.
Yeah.
And now we have the beauty of technology where we have the spell and grammar check
Which is
as
awesome.
well.
It catches a
Um,
lot of stuff.
oh, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my weaknesses, shall we say, is punctuation. So, I could write like 3 pages and only put 1 full stop.
You and
The
Walt
rest
Whitman.
the rest is commas, and so it's good to have this technology.
I know Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. It's pretty close to the front of the book, but um, I just remember this because oddly enough, what I went to school for, what I went to college for was literature. So that
Ah,
that was my
okay.
major. And we read Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. And there are literally like 3, 4 pages with no punctuation. It's one run-on sentence, I guess. I don't know.
One word for that gentleman for doing that, legend.
Well, he is kind of a legend, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's the
yeah.
audacity of it, isn't it? "No, I haven't finished yet." "No, you're gonna listen. You're gonna read this.
You're just going to
I'll tell
keep
you when you're gonna
reading and
breathe."
right. Exactly. Nope, no breathing for you today. Well, as people can tell, we're a lot alike. Weird
Yes.
sense of humor, quirky sense of humor, and all that. Uh, it's kind of funny because I'm looking at this and our notes say like attract likes in the energetic world and how we connected. Oddly enough, we connected, I believe, through a book.
Yes, it was, yeah, we were
Yeah.
co-authors. We was
Yeah.
guested, asked to be co-authors, and then, it was through the shall we say, the individuals that have put that book together, that actually said to me, "You really ought to connect with Kristina, I feel, you'd work well together." And me being quite shy, I was like, "Ooh, oh, go on then, all right then, I will." And then, I think I sent you a message, and it was very
Yeah.
I think you called it typically English or something because I was very kind and very, "Oh,
Very
hello there, young
formal.
lady. Hello, young lady. How are you?" All of this,
Very
and
formal. Yeah.
you said, "Oh, it was very cute, that was."
Yeah.
I appreciated that, and the barriers were broken down, and then,
Yeah.
we just seemed to connect, and there were so many similarities with the way that, you've unfolded as a
Mhm.
medium and the way that you work and the way that I do the same.
Right.
Um, and then it was, I think it was through my guides. They said, "You need to ask Christina to be a co-host on your show."
Yeah.
And I sent one of those typically English messages that go round all the houses rather than getting to the point. When I got to the point, he said, "Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, of course. I'd love to do it. Why didn't you just say that?"
That was the most adorable message. That was just so cute. But
Yeah.
before that, though, like you had been a guest on my previous radio show,
Oh, of course.
and
Yes.
I was a guest on your podcast, and
That's right. Yeah.
so we had some interaction that way. So when you sent me that message, I just thought it was the sweetest thing.
But it was yeah, there was actually interesting, connecting that way on the previous shows. There was a connection there, definitely.
Hmm.
I felt very comfortable, like I am now, chatting away, and you felt the same. You
Yeah.
could open up and share what you was
Hmm.
going through. But I will say, when I was invited on your previous show, crikey, I think it was 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, because it was
Uh,
a live show at 8 p.m. my time,
yes.
which is Central Standard Time in the US. And so, yeah, you're such a trooper. Up at 2 o'clock in the morning. doing a radio show live. I was
And
so impressed.
I had the school run as well a few hours after that. So
Right.
my girls are still at school. So, but I don't know if it was a good show because like I was half asleep.
It was a great show, actually. That was one of the better ones.
Oh, bless your
Yeah.
heart. Well, I
Uh,
thank Spirit for that.
I thank Spirit for everything because
Yeah.
seriously, that I don't function as well as they do. So, you know,
Yeah, it's very instantaneous with them, isn't it?
it
Obviously, they
is.
see the bigger picture.
Hmm.
Where we hold on to anxieties, they don't. They're like, well,
Right.
you'll be all right. Get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool the way that we connected like that. And really through
Hmm.
that book, I have connected with probably half a dozen other people who are still friends of mine, you know?
Yeah, likewise. I met quite
Yeah.
a few people through that, and they're lovely
Yeah.
souls as well. So
Exactly.
pure with their intentions.
Yeah. Right. Right. And the person who put that book together really has a gift for connecting people.
Does he? Yeah, he sees the spark, doesn't he?
Hmm.
And it's almost like he puts the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yes.
Some sort of wizard or master, shall we say. And I'm sure he would love that term to be
Yep,
put on
I'm
his
sure he
CV.
would. Well, we can tag him in this show when it gets
Yes.
send him, go to this link. You're gonna love it. Wow. So, what do you have for upcoming events? You have some stuff coming up.
This year I'm kind of like winding down slightly, but
Okay.
I say that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of planning ahead for next year because next year is going to be pretty epic. I'm not
Yes.
saying this year hasn't been epic; it
Right.
continues to be so. But we're not going to talk about this because it is very hush hush at the moment. But both
Right.
yourself and myself, we're planning something behind the scenes that
Yeah.
potentially could be quite revolutionary in its conception. So that's why we're not going to talk about it too
Right.
much.
Right.
But I'm excited for that
Right.
project with
Right.
yourself there.
I am
Um,
too.
and also, there's the you're coming to the UK, so
Yes, I'm so
next year.
excited. Yes, in May. Yeah. I'm going to be vending at the Cryptid CryptidCon UK in it's in Somerset, but there's another Somerset's like a county, right? Like it's not a town.
It is a county, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so it's
I've, s-
Bridgeford, I want to say Bridgeford.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
about right. Yeah.
Yeah. I should have probably had that information sitting in front of me, but I'm very excited about that, and that is going to be on May 31st. Um, yeah, but I'm going to be there for a couple
Wow.
of weeks. I mean, I might not get back there for a while, so I'm going to take full advantage of being there and see all the things I wanted to see, connect with as many people as I can and hang out with you
Excellent.
because, that's just
Yes,
going to be a blast.
I'll take you around my haunts, such as
Awesome.
Glastonbury. You need to go there. Definitely
Yeah.
Stonehenge, Avebury Stone Circle.
Yes.
You'll have your mind blown. All the energies. I
I
mean, we
know.
take it for granted in the UK. Perhaps
Yes.
we don't give it the magnitude it deserves. But
Right.
I will sense the reignition of my excitement seeing your excitement for the first time.
Right, right. I mean, ever
Yeah.
since I was a kid, I've always wanted to go to the UK and do like a haunted castle tour. Like,
Wow. There's
wouldn't that be
plenty
cool?
of those about.
I
Yeah.
know, right? We do have a few castles here in the US that they're all replicas. Like they're not, original 1,000-year-old buildings.
Well,
But
isn't the Disney castle that was inspired by was it somewhere in Europe, wasn't it?
it was, and the East Coast, probably because when the settlers came here, they landed on the East Coast. So when they were
Okay.
building, that's where they built first. So like Pennsylvania, the Virginias, Washington D.C., that whole area, that whole northern East Coast area, has older buildings, but nothing as old as what's in the UK. So I am super excited to get there and kind of feel out those energies, and certainly will give me a way to practice protecting my energy,
Definitely.
which is the thing that I lecture about. So that's interesting
Ah,
too.
And there's some of the
Yeah.
buildings actually that were perhaps previously churches that were knocked down,
Mm-hmm.
and rather than leaving the stone to go to waste, they was then used to build like houses. So
Well, that makes sense.
as a medium, when you're doing psychometry and you're
Yeah.
touching somebody's living room and you're like, why am I seeing an altar? It can
Yeah.
confuse you, you know, but
Right.
you know, the story of the stones there, the energy is still retained within them.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
let's see if we
That is wonderful.
can test your metal
Oh,
when you're over.
I have a feeling you're going to take that on as a challenge.
Yes. It will be a challenge for me because I don't retain any information. So I'll
Yeah.
be telling you that it's this, and I've probably got it wrong and forgot the facts.
Awesome.
So that's going to be fun.
Awesome. A dyslexic tour guide. So tell
Yeah.
me about your weekly classes and such.
Okay, so every week I host an online spiritual development class on a Wednesday. I have two different Wednesday classes, and these take place over Zoom, and they start at 7:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time through till 9:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. We cover all things in under the spiritual development umbrella, so such as your natural gifts and abilities, protection, first aid for sensitives. We also look at psychic art, automatic writing, scrying, using spiritual tools, crystal balls, ribbon readings, psychometry, as we've mentioned, tarot, oracle cards. Basically, we cover as much as we possibly can, even soul rescue as well. We cover that. So I do
Oh,
that twice a week. So I do it
wow.
Wednesday at those times, and then Thursday the same, 7:30 p.m. through till 9:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And it doesn't matter where you're at around the world, you can still take part in the class because we have
Right.
students from all over that do attend.
Wow. That's awesome. So you don't cover all that in one class period.
Oh, crikey, no, no.
Oh, wow. I was
Um,
going to say, wow, you were like a
no,
bionic teacher or something.
it would be too much. We cover two different aspects within one
Okay.
lesson. And every lesson's different. We mix it up, and it's all guided from spirit or the content and information, and they direct it. They say, right, next week you're going to be teaching this and you're going to be teaching that. So I trust the process. So yeah, if anybody's
Awesome.
interested, hit me up and I'll send you the information.
And how do they hit you up?
Not with a cricket bat or a hammer. I'm
That's
quite a
good.
sensitive soul. You can either, ideally, the best way is to get me on Facebook, and you just have to find my page, which is Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. Send me a message there with your intention, your interest, and I'll send you how you go about reserving your place in the class. Alternate to that, you can contact me on my website, www.glenboddicespiritualmedium.com, or you can email me at glenboddice@live.co.uk. I am on all the other platforms, but there's too many to remember, being a dyslexic, and my memory is like a goldfish. So just type in my name, Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium, on the major search engine, and they will all pop up there.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you for coming along and playing. And I know we're just going to keep having more fun as we go.
Oh, thank you, Kristina. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure as always. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. And everyone, thank you for listening. You're listening to this on Zone 5 Radio. Have a great week until we see you again.